Hello, and welcome back to Pure Stoic Truth. I want to begin by truly thanking you for being here. Whether this is your first time, or you've been walking this path with us for a while, your presence matters. It shows that you're one of the few men committed to emotional clarity, to growth, and to rising above confusion. If you haven't already, take just a second now to subscribe. You're not just joining a channel, you're becoming part of a mission, a movement to rebuild masculine strength in its purest form. In our last video, we explored the hidden power of Stoicism in dating and relationships, how quiet confidence, emotional stability, and self-control can make you stand out without saying a word. But what happens after the connection fades? When the relationship ends but the emotional echoes remain? What happens when her silence starts speaking louder than any message? This video picks up where the last one left off and leads us into something deeper. Because in 2025, being a real man isn't about appearance, charm, or approval. It's about mastering the one thing most men fear, themselves. But before we get there, let me ask you this. What if I told you she still thinks about you every single day, but you'll never see her name light up your phone again? What if she's quietly watching you, checking your stories, scrolling through your photos, rereading your old messages, not because she's over you, but because she isn't? And what if her silence doesn't mean indifference, but is actually a hidden defense, built on fear, pride, and self-protection? That's where today's truth begins. Today, I'm going to walk you through a complete shift in perspective. Why she disappeared without a word. Why she lingers in the shadows. And how you, without chasing, without speaking, without lowering your worth, can reclaim your emotional balance and flip the dynamic entirely. If you stay with me until the end, you will not only understand her better, you will start to see yourself differently. Because real strength doesn't come from pretending you don't feel. It comes from learning to feel without losing your center. You deserve the truth. You deserve to stop living in the uncertainty she left you with. And above all, you deserve to stop suffering in silence. This channel exists for men like you. Men who are tired of second-guessing themselves. Tired of over-explaining. Tired of shrinking to fit into someone else's expectations. If that's you, then show up. Be heard. Support this movement by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Because when you do that, you help bring this message to thousands of other men who've been silent for too long. Men who don't just want to chase validation anymore. Men who are ready to lead. Now, let's begin. The silent battlefield. Every time she's alone with her thoughts, there's a war inside her. One side pulls her toward you, memories, moments, laughter. The other side, fear, pride, the voice telling her not to reach out. In that war, you're about to see it clearly. We ended the last section with an image, her caught in silence with a storm raging beneath the surface. A woman torn between the pull of memory and the push of fear. But that silence, it's not accidental. It's not weakness, it's strategy. And at the center of that strategy, pride. Pride is the wall between what she feels and what she allows herself to reveal. It doesn't whisper. It dictates. Pride tells her to wait. Pride insists. If he missed you, he would be the one to reach out. It poisons her clarity with stories of strength and illusions of control. She stares at her phone, longing to see your name appear, but refuses to type yours first. Because to her, vulnerability still looks like defeat. And then, ego steps in. Ego doesn't negotiate. Ego commands. It says, you must be the one who's wanted, never the one who appears to chase. And in that moment, even the idea of reaching out something as small as sending a message becomes a war between longing and image, between connection and control. Every second she remains silent, she feels both pain and a strange sense of victory. Pain because she still feels the loss. Victory because she hasn't broken. This duality is emotional torture, and some nights, she almost gives in. She types the message. She hesitates. She wants to feel close again. But just before she presses send, pride and fear choke her impulse and lock her back in the fortress she's built around her heart. Now, here's the truth most men don't understand. The longer you hold your silence, the heavier it becomes on her side of the battlefield. When you don't reach out, when you don't fold, when you don't chase, you deny her the comfort she secretly craves. She expects you to break first. She expects you to be the one to relieve the pressure. And when you don't, it disrupts the story she tells herself, the one where she's in control. If you reach out first, she wins. Without lifting a finger, you show vulnerability. She feels powerful again. But if you hold your ground with stillness and quiet confidence, her foundation begins to shake. The silence, once a shield, becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, doubt creeps in. Regret lingers. Memories, instead of fading, become sharper, more vivid, more consuming. Because now, she has to sit with it. No distractions. No reassurance. Just the echo of what she lost. And that is your greatest advantage. Your silence becomes a mirror to her choices. It forces her to ask questions she's been avoiding. Did I push away the only man who truly saw me? Has he already moved on? Did I lose someone who was never coming back? So remember this. Her silence doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she's still trying to protect a version of herself, one who looks strong on the outside, but is breaking on the inside. A woman torn between missing you and fearing you've become someone who no longer needs her. Now that we understand how pride fuels her silence, it's time to uncover her next move. Why silence is her strategy. It's not forgetting. It's not closure. It's control. Let's go deeper. In the previous section, we uncovered how pride and ego fuel her silence, how they act as armor, shielding her from vulnerability. But there's more beneath the surface. Her silence is not just emotional defense. It's a calculated move, a psychological play, because silence creates doubt. Silence breeds emotional instability, especially in the one who still cares more. And she knows that. She knows if she's the one who breaks the silence first, she surrenders her illusion of control. If she's the one who sends that message, makes the first move, shows even a glimpse of vulnerability, she risks being seen as desperate. In her mind, that is the ultimate defeat. So what does she do? She waits. She bets that your emotions will break before hers, that you'll start overanalyzing every moment, every silence, that you'll scroll through her old pictures, re-watch her stories, wonder what she's doing and who she's with. She counts on your mind becoming your enemy. She counts on the silence getting so loud that you can no longer bear it. And when that silence begins to echo in your chest, when you finally crack and send that simple message, something like, "Hey, hope you're doing okay," you think it's harmless, you think it's mature, but it's more than just a text. It's a surrender. You kill the mystery. You remove all doubt from her mind. You give her every answer she was wondering about without her ever having to ask. That one message tells her everything. You're still emotionally invested. You're still affected. You're still waiting. And the moment she knows that you lose leverage, suddenly, the grip she thought she was losing begins to tighten again. The control she feared slipping away returns. And here's the cruel twist. She doesn't even need to respond with warmth. She can ignore the message completely. She can reply dry, cold, or not at all, because the power isn't in the reply. It's in the confirmation. The confirmation that you still care enough to make the first move. You might rationalize it to yourself. I was just being polite. I'm taking the high road. But in the emotional chessboard of silence, none of that matters. It's not about intentions. It's about actions. And your action gave her clarity, at the cost of your emotional mystery. While you expose your vulnerability, she remains hidden. And that's exactly what her silence was designed to achieve. Because silence is effortless. She doesn't have to chase. She doesn't have to explain. She doesn't even have to respond. She simply lets time do the work. Knowing most men won't make it through the emotional drought. Most men crave answers more than they value their own dignity. Most men give in, not because they care too much, but because they can't sit in the unknown. Her silence isn't strength. It's fear with a clever disguise. Pride, wearing the mask of self-control. Asterisk, but it works. Because in this emotional battle, the one who appears to care less always holds the power. And silence is the most convincing illusion of indifference, even if it's tearing her apart inside. When you reach out, you give her certainty. You remove all her doubt, and she wins, without lifting a finger. But when you don't, when you hold your line with quiet resolve, you shift everything. You force her to sit in the silence she created. To feel the emptiness she once thought she could manage. To wonder, did I make a mistake? Now that we've uncovered how silence becomes her ultimate strategy, it's time to explore the emotional power behind your discipline and how it transforms the dynamic entirely. Asterisk. When silence becomes your power. Building on what we uncovered earlier, pride can shield her, but silence? It becomes a harsh mirror of what she's really feeling. That silence, once a comforting refuge, slowly turns into her worst enemy. As the days blur into weeks and weeks bleed into months, it starts to eat away at her mind. At first she tells herself, "You're just being stubborn." Then, "You're playing mind games." But when time stretches on, doubt begins to drown out pride. What if he really has moved on? What if he doesn't miss me at all? What if I've lost him forever? That's when her silence begins to hurt her, not protect her. That's when the emotional tide finally starts to turn. The illusion of moving on. You might see her smiling in photos, flashing that same familiar grin that once made your heart race. You might spot her on trips with friends, posing at sunsets, dancing in clubs, or sharing quotes about strength, independence, and healing. It feels like she's moved on. Like maybe she never cared as much as you did. But here's what most men don't realize: people don't post their pain. They post the image they want others to believe. Behind every smiling selfie might be regret. Behind every post about strength could be nights spent crying into a pillow, scarred with memories of you. Behind the facade of a happy life is often a hollow ache, something she tries to outrun but never escapes. She doesn't post because she's healed, she posts because she's hiding. Each photo is a shield, each caption a layer of armor, every story a wall between the world and the war raging in her heart. She isn't moving on as fast as she seems. She's trying to convince herself. She's waging an invisible battle behind the scenes, one you'll never see on Instagram. After the parties end, the filters dim, the followers sleep, and the room goes quiet, that's when the mask cracks. Alone in the dark, she scrolls through your old messages. She hears your voice in her mind. She remembers what it felt like to be understood, to be seen, even to be loved beyond the surface. That ache hits harder than any breakup anthem she plays. It echoes louder than any caption about strength. And if in that moment of weakness you break your silence and send that first text, you lift the weight. You give her solace. You offer relief. Even if only for a second. Your silence isn't just absence. It's the space that magnifies what she's truly feeling. Coming up next, how your silence becomes her turning point. building on the quiet impact from part 4, where silence stripped away her defenses and exposed her inner truth. Now we move deeper. This is where stillness becomes your greatest weapon. The weight of your silence. She doesn't have to fully feel the cost of losing you if you keep showing up. But when you stay silent, when you remain firm as a man who values himself more than he misses her, you allow that silence to do its work. You let it grow heavier, deeper, planting itself in her mind. Slowly, that silence becomes unbearable, not because you're punishing her, but because she sees she can't replace what she lost. No amount of likes, followers, stage smiles, or borrowed adventures can fill the void you left. And only in the silence does real regret take root. True regret doesn't thrive in crowds. It lives in quiet rooms, alone with one's thoughts. When distractions fade, the illusion of moving on, that's just a mask, carefully polished for others. But in private, she battles sleepless nights and haunting what-ifs. And the longer you stay silent, the more that facade begins to crack. At first, it's tiny fissures, slight hesitation in her confidence. Then, unfamiliar pangs of doubt. Then a wave of, "Did I just let go of the only man who truly saw me?" You must not react. You must not chase. You must not break. Every day, you don't reach out. Every moment you don't check her story. Every time you keep building your life, with or without her, you grow in her memory. You become the man she can't replace. The one she thought would always be there, until he WASN single quotes that no matter how bright her posts seem, no matter who she laughs with now, deep down, she knows she lost someone extraordinary. A man who had the strength to walk away without begging, without chasing, without losing himself. That kind of man is unforgettable. That kind of man leaves a mark no one else can erase. And that kind of man you are becoming if you hold your silence and keep moving forward. The power of emotional control, just as we saw in the last chapter, where silence carves deeper than any words ever could. Now we step into the emotional aftermath of that silence. Once she realizes you're still emotionally available to her, even without her lifting a finger, something shifts inside her. She no longer feels the need to miss you. There's no urgency, no longing, no real regret. Because deep down she knows, whenever she wants to feel your presence, all she has to do is hint at it, and you'll be there. Emotionally open. Emotionally accessible. And here's the harsh truth. Nothing is less attractive to a woman than a man who cannot master his own emotions. When you reach out first, whether it's a short text, a harmless just checking in, or even liking an old post, what you're really showing is that your emotions are leading you. You're not grounded. You're not centered. You're being pulled by the gravity of fear instead of standing in your purpose. That's when she instinctively pulls away. Why? Because emotional instability doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel rare. It feels ordinary. And in her eyes, predictability is poison to attraction. Every message you send trying to reconnect, trying to remind her of the good times, doesn't bring her closer. It shrinks you in her perception. It replaces the man she once admired with the man who's now chasing something already gone. It turns the rare, collected, composed version of you into someone she no longer respects. Each attempt you make, each just wondering how you're doing, each moment of emotional weakness, it all confirms her decision to walk away. It reaffirms her belief that leaving was not only right, but necessary. Because strong men don't chase, they don't beg, they don't explain. They let their absence echo louder than any words ever could. If you want her to truly miss you, not out of guilt, but out of realization, you must become a void. A question in her mind that she can't answer. A blank space she can't fill with noise, attention, or artificial joy. True regret only arises when she feels the weight of that emptiness. But that requires something most men don't have: emotional discipline. Not the kind where you stay silent for 3 days hoping she reacts. Not the kind where you watch her story but don't say anything. No. This silence must be real, a lifestyle, a philosophy, a declaration. It says, I don't chase what walks away. I don't fight to prove my worth to someone who doubts it. One choose myself fully, without apology. That kind of silence doesn't just make her wonder. It forces her to see you differently. As the man who could have had her, but walked away with dignity. As the man she thought she could always call, but who vanished without drama or revenge. If you break that silence, even once, you reset the entire emotional game. You give away the power you've worked so hard to build. But if you hold steady, like a king holding his crown firm, graceful, untouched by storms, you become unforgettable. You become the man she thinks about at night when the world grows quiet. The man who chose himself. The one who didn't come running. Silence is your shield. Discipline is your sword. And emotional control? That is your victory. Let's now go deeper. In the next part, we explore the psychology behind why emotional detachment is the most magnetic trait a man can develop in 2025 and how to build it. Ready? Your new mindset. Following on from the previous section, where we talked about the true power that lies in silence and mastery of emotions, it's now time to build a new mindset to maintain that power. Powerful men aren't powerful because they speak the most, shout the loudest, or pursue relentlessly. They're powerful because they act with restraint. They stand firm when others are rattled. They don't chase every impulse. They don't let fleeting emotions dictate lasting actions. They know their value isn't determined by who accepts them or who rejects them. These men understand their worth is whole, complete, without needing external validation. Emotional control isn't just a skill, it's a shield. It's what separates the weak from the strong, the ordinary from the exceptional. It elevates a man from forgettable to unforgettable. When you can sit in silence, even while your heart aches to reach out, to check in, to say just one word and still remain still. That is true power. In that moment, you stop being a man she can predict. You become her mystery. You're not the guy waiting by his phone. You're the man out of reach, unpredictable, rare, the one who lingers in her thoughts. Not because you're chasing, but because you are gone. Because women don't miss men who are always available. They don't lie awake thinking about men who constantly remind them they're still here. They miss men who vanish into their own greatness. Men who maintain their own frame, build their own kingdoms, and refuse to let past memories tether them. These disciplined men who value themselves over fleeting feelings. They are the ones women regret losing every time you feel the urge to text her. Every time your hand hovers over your phone, thinking, maybe this time she appreciate it. Stop. Every second you resist that impulse. Every moment you choose silence over action. You sow seeds of doubt in her mind. You pose questions she can't answer. You build tension she can't easily resolve. You plant regret that grows heavier with each day. And while you stand firm, silent, and purposeful, it's not just you becoming more powerful in her mind. It's you becoming more powerful in your own life. Because mastering your emotions doesn't just win back authority in a relationship, it strengthens your spirit, sharpens your mind, and shapes you into a man no one can forget, no world can defeat. Master your emotions and you master the battlefield. Master your emotions and you master your destiny. Your new mindset. It starts with a decision. A declaration so profound that once you make it, there's no turning back. You are no longer a man chasing shadows. You are no longer a man waiting by the phone, hoping she'll realize what she lost. Building on the mindset we've developed where emotional discipline and silent strength define you, we now arrive at your final transformation. Becoming unstoppable. You are no longer the man who clings to memories, trapped by a need for her approval to feel alive. That version of you is gone. You have buried him. You have chosen to rise. From today forward, you build a life where you are the center of gravity, not her. You weave an existence so full, so impactful, so compelling that her absence feels like nothing more than a single ripple in an ocean she can never cross again. No longer do you view her silence as rejection, you see it as redirection. Every moment she doesn't reach out is a moment you reinvest in yourself, your mind, your body, your mission, your legacy. You are not here to chase someone willing to walk away. You're here to forge a life so remarkable that people regret losing access to you. Women don't complete you. No one completes you. You were already whole before she entered your life, and now you're stronger than ever. Her departure didn't break you. It shattered the illusions that once held you prisoner. It shattered the false idea that you needed someone else to validate your worth. Here's the truth. You lose nothing by her leaving. You lose everything. If you lose yourself while trying to win her back, you lose everything when you compromise your dignity, sacrifice your peace, just to be chosen by someone who once doubted you. That man you will never win in life. That opportunities are everywhere. New dreams, new victories, new people who recognize who you are without explanations, without chasing. But those opportunities only reveal themselves to men who advance with conviction, not those frozen in the past, hoping to rewind time. Life rewards motion. Life rewards resilience. Life rewards men who choose future over past. Today, you stop being a ghost chaser. You stop giving energy to what was, and you stop waiting for her to realize your worth. Because you already do that, you become the man she will regret losing, not through desperate words or actions, but through the life you build without her. A life so powerful, so abundant, that the version of you she once knew feels like a distant dream. You don't chase, you don't wait, you don't beg, you build. You rise, you become. And when she thinks of you, and she will, it won't bring comfort. It'll bring a deep ache she can't soothe. The ache of losing a man who became unstoppable without her. This journey is about reclaiming what was always yours: your power, your pride, your peace. Every moment you resist reaching out, you become stronger. Every second of silence, you rise higher. Every step forward without looking back, you reclaim what is yours. She had her chance. Now you are building something greater, not for her, but for you. If this message resonates, and you believe every man deserves to hear it, support this channel. Subscribe, like, comment. Your support helps us reach thousands of men silently, facing their own battles. Together, we are building a brotherhood of unstoppable men who lead their own lives. Up next, 5 signs she likes you that most guys miss. You won't want to miss the subtle cues that tell the real story. Let's go deeper in the next video.